This other case being covered for right now, that's up next, directly right now, is a case that is frighteningly similar to a few other cases, including the including the case of Mr. Redwine. It's the case of Jody Herring, which took place in a small town right next to Burlington, Vermont. Not more than about 5 years ago, but it's 5 years, that is a part of our history and is very important as well. So make sure to check it out. That's up next. Thank you. So next we're going to be focusing quite a bit on the case of Jody Herring. This is a very important case. Jody Herring was sentenced more than 12 years ago when Jody Herring opened fire and killed social worker Lara Sobel outside the Department for Children and Families in Vermont. Authorities were unaware of the three other victims who had been related to the crime until after the fact. Now, what's interesting that I'm not going to get too much into in this first video, but this is the same part of Vermont where Joseph Ferlazzo Jr. grew up. That's correct. Who is Jody Herring? Jody was presented in the show as a damaged lady who had come dangerously close to losing herself to drug and alcohol abuse. She lost everything and had worked hard to gain things, but lost everything else. According to the episode, she went on a major downward spiral following a difficult breakup and at one point attempted to commit suicide. Despite the fact that she was surrounded by individuals who were willing to support and assist her, they were becoming increasingly concerned about her behavior and well-being. Because Jody is also a mother, her actions caused her children to experience neglect and a less than ideal childhood as a result of her actions. In order to report Jody and protect the children, her family members contacted the DCF, according to the episode, and then reported her. The Department of Children and Families conducted an investigation which resulted in Jody losing custody. This appeared to be the final straw for Jody, whose life had already spiraled out of control as she could no longer bear the thought of being separated from her children, particularly the 9-year-old. As a result, after determining that her cousins Rhonda and Regina Herring, as well as her aunt Julie Falzarano, were to blame, Jody went out with no warning and got revenge by murdering all four of them. Lara, who was working on Jody's children's case, was singled out as one who was responsible for her children being taken. Where is Jody Herring now? Tiffany was sure of her cousin's involvement in the murders, according to the documentary, since she was aware that Jody had resented the three victims for separating her from her children. As an additional point of evidence, Tiffany stated in court that she overheard Jody Herring hurling expletives and death threats. When Jody appeared in court, he admitted to 3 second-degree murders as well as the first-degree murder, or she admitted, murder of Lara Sobel, which she had previously denied. As a result of her plea to second-degree murder in 2017, she received 3 sentences ranging from 20 years to life in prison, while her first-degree murder conviction resulted in a life sentence without the possibility of release. So really these main murders took place about approximately 5 to 7 years ago. But this has been going on for a long time. And you'll notice, folks, that I'm paying very close attention to this, since there's a lot that we can learn from the Jody Herring case. A lot. And it really drives my passion. True crime is a real treat for me to be able to delve into, because it's something that I know so well. And these next weeks, and especially this week ahead, I'm going to be delving into quite a few cases and get to the part 2 and part 3 of some cases, and also in covering Jelani Day. Because the most important thing we need to realize It can make a huge difference for all of us. Myself, but also every single one of you. What we truly learn from these experiences and what we are able to take home from the experience that you can't get from anything else, that you will not get from some kind of musical, and that we can't get from any kind of entertainment or magazine or anything. That's the true gift that true crime provides to everyone as they learn more about this society and how to truly deal with certain things as well, and how to deal with life. So Jody Herring had signs of borderline personality disorder. She had a serious mental illness. August 7th at the Central Vermont farmhouse of Rhonda Herring. The caller was her cousin at the time, Jody Herring. You guys need to stop calling DCF unless you guys are going to have it coming to you, Jody Herring said. That Friday afternoon, Jody Herring, the 40-year-old mother of the three victims, or of the three children, who later became a part of this, would make at least 2 phone calls, both to her brother and someone else. If you think anything of your sister, you'll get a hold of me now. Watch the news, Jody Herring said 4 minutes later, and you'll wish you got a hold of me earlier today. Less than 2 hours after, Jody Herring was pinned by passerby in the parking lot of the state office building in Barre, Vermont. Laura Sobel, a respected 48-year-old Department for Children and Families social worker, lay dead on the pavement nearby, killed by 2 gunshots. Police would say later that Jody Herring pulled the trigger after lying in wait for Sobel to leave for the weekend. The tragedy compounded that next morning. Tiffany Herring, Rhonda's 23-year-old daughter, visited the white farmhouse in Berlin, the next town over from Barre, Vermont, and she discovered a horrific sight. Both doors were wide open, and I walked into the living room, and that's where I saw my mom, deceased, on the floor. Tiffany Herring told the Burlington Free Press just hours after. She said Falzarano appeared to have been shot to death, while Rhonda Herring had put up a fight before being killed. Grief and concern spread through central and northern Vermont, where the Herring family is from, and through the Department for Children and Families, where caseworkers are to perform one of the most difficult and emotional jobs in the state. Meanwhile, Jody Herring was calm and laughing after killing Sobel. So, folks, I'm not mistaking the fact that Jody Herring had severe problems. She had borderline personality disorder. And people need to be sensitive to that fact. That's true. But this is a disorder that cannot be treated in certain cases. And we also need to recognize, how important this is to look at this case again, because certain things that were said about the investigation in Vermont. It's one of the worst mass killings Vermont has had. One of the most severe mass killings in Vermont's time. And I'm not saying the Department of Children and Families is a good thing. There's a lot of things that are having to be reworked and reformatted about all of these agencies, including the Department of Children and Families. However, what I am saying is that Jody Herring had absolutely no excuse for what she did and what happened in Vermont. Kevin D. Crowley of Green Mountain Family Practices wrote in November 2010 that despite his not being a psychiatrist, he based it on Herring's numerous office visits that it is unlikely she would be able to hold a job for any length of time because of her emotional state and a resultant inability to stay focused. So they were early on attempting to intervene with Jody Herring. But Jody Herring, in this particular case, rejected all types of support and outside intervention. Former Washington County State Attorney Gregory McNaughton was waiting for a friend in a parking lot on August 7th. The pair was headed to a memorial service at the Montpelier Elks for a mutual friend. Suddenly, that Friday afternoon in Granite City was pierced by the sound of a gunshot. That's when they found Jody Herring had murdered all four people, including Lana Sobel. So, folks, this was a very interesting case all around. This was an interesting period of history in Vermont, and I've just felt ever since I really studied it that there's more here that we need, to really investigate and look at. She had a lot of disturbing images that she kept. It was clear that she had a personality disorder, and it was crystal clear that there should have been some kind of intervention of some type with medication or a way to get her away from that area. Because if that had occurred, folks, it's very possible that Lara Sobel and the other three victims would still be alive today. Not only that, a lot of other things would have not occurred in Vermont. And there's so many things that really we can learn from this. We can learn to be wiser, and we can truly look at a situation for what it is, and we can learn to put the safety of others before our own in certain cases as well, and to not try to save everyone who has a borderline or other disorder, because to do so leads to catastrophic outcomes. So I thank you all. I hope you get this case out there far and wide. This is an important case, I feel, especially in our modern time. And let people know what Jody Herring did, and that she had an accomplice in her parole area that just didn't see, not that they were bad, but they didn't see the warning signs for how disturbed Jody apparently truly was. And that is what led to some tragedies. And these are some tragedies we will never forget. Thank you again. Like, comment, share it far and wide, also subscribe. Thank you.